My God, I hate drugs.
Wala raw balak si Sister Patricia Fox na umalis ng bansa. Sa isang press conference, sinabi ni Fox na patuloy niyang lalabanan ang hakbang ng gobyerno para siya ay palayasin. Handa raw si Fox iapela ang desisyon ng Bureau of Immigration hanggang sa Korte Suprema. Matatandaang nanindigan ang BI sa desisyon nitong kanselahin ang missionary visa ni Fox dahil umano sa paglahok niya sa political activities. Pero wala pang desisyon ang ahensya kung iba-blacklist ang Banyaga.
Consumers say they have to spend more money for fewer things as the prices of goods continue to rise. Some are blaming the increase on the recently passed Tax for Acceleration and Inclusion Law, more commonly known as the Train Law. But the Finance Department says it is against repealing the law as called for by opposition lawmakers. It also says the government cannot suspend the fuel excise tax. This seems contrary to Malacanang's earlier pronouncement. Our Joyce Ilas tells us more.
Consumers just have to bear the impact of higher fuel taxes this year. Finance Undersecretary Carl Chua says the government cannot suspend the excise tax on fuel under the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion or TRAIN law.
There's also a provision in the TRAIN law that says that we cannot suspend the existing rate. We can only suspend the next increase if the condition is met.
Chua says what can be suspended is the second tranche of increase in the fuel excise tax in January 2019. But this can only happen when the average Dubai crude oil price reaches $80 per barrel from October to December this year, or 3 months before the next scheduled increase as provided by law. Dubai crude is currently nearing $75 per barrel. Some lawmakers, however, say suspending the next tranche of tax increase is not enough to cushion the tax reform law's impact on poor Filipinos suffering from high prices of basic commodities. They are calling on colleagues at the House of Representatives to support their bill repealing what they call anti-poor provisions of the TRAIN law. Among these, the excise tax on fuel and sugar-sweetened beverages and restoration of some value-added tax exemptions. House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Dakila Kua says his committee is reviewing the impact of the TRAIN law.
Kung sa ating pag-aaral ay makita natin ito ay dapat i-suspend, open naman tayo sa possibility niya.
The Finance Department, however, is not open to suspending the law.
And all the President's promises will not be funded. A lot is at stake, and we have infrastructure, free SUC tuition to deliver, and all the budget priorities. You lose credibility, and you lose all the hard-won reforms and credit rating that you have achieved.
The country's economic managers earlier said the TRAIN law only contributed 0.4% in the spike in commodity prices in April. They instead blamed the surge in fuel prices, depreciation of the peso, and profiteering by some businesses. But militant lawmakers are not buying this.
Pumunta sila sa palengke, sabihin nila yan sa tindera doon at namamalengke araw-araw. Baka ihambalo sa kanila yung mahal na presyo ng mga bilihin. Kung hindi ito haharapin ng Kongreso, dahil nagmumula naman ito sa Kongreso at ng Duterte administration, magiging isang napakalaking political and electoral issue nito.
Congress only has 3 session days left, a very small window, to take up the bill repealing the TRAIN law before it adjourns for a 2-month break. Joyce Ilas, CNN Philippines.
End or extend. The Justice Department is now evaluating whether it will keep alleged pork barrel mastermind Janet Lim Napoles under the Witness Protection Program. The provisional government protection is due to expire tomorrow. That's after roughly 3 months. The Justice Department is working with Napoles in its pork barrel scam investigation. The agency is specifically looking into the involvement of allies of the Aquino administration. Napoles is facing multiple plunder and graft charges at the Sandigan Bayan for allegedly working with lawmakers in diverting pork funds to her bogus non-government organizations. We are trying to reach Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara. Will give you a statement as soon as it is available.
A check on our global headlines. The summit between the United States and North Korea and South Korea is not happening. The White House on Thursday released a letter President Donald Trump sent to Kim Jong-un calling off the summit. It had been scheduled in Singapore on June 12. In the letter, Trump based the decision on Kim's, quote, tremendous anger and open hostility displayed in your most recent statement, unquote. South Korea's Blue House released a statement saying the cancellation is unfortunate and regrettable. The meeting would have been the first face-to-face meeting between a U.S. and North Korean leader. A team of investigators led by Netherlands says a missile launcher that belonged to Russia's 53rd Anti-Aircraft Brigade was used to shoot down flight MH17 in Ukraine back in 2014. The JIT, or Joint Investigation Team, announced Thursday that the launcher used in the attack was transported from the territory of the Russian Federation and was returned to Russia after. A total of 298 people from 17 countries died when the flight from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur was brought down in eastern Ukraine in July 2014. And the U.S. State Department is looking into a possible sonic attack after a U.S. government employee in China reported abnormal sensations of sound and pressure while stationed in Guangzhou. The health alert is similar to the sonic attacks in Cuba. According to the U.S. Secretary of State, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says that staffers' medical symptoms are entirely consistent to those reported by U.S. diplomats in Havana. And we go more in depth on these global headlines later in the program.
Our top story for today, we have a report on, of course, consumers complaining somewhat about the effects of the train law still because of the effects on prices of goods. They say, of course, they're blaming the train law for these increases. The Department of Finance, however, of course, is saying that it's not to blame for the rising prices of goods. They're saying that, in fact, only less than 1% has been, or it only costs less than 1% increase.
Hold yourself.
So, James, later on, you should wait for that report.
No, but yeah, it's always a trickle down, a domino effect from one thing, and it will just keep
But
going.
if there's anything more frustrating than the rising prices, it's being told that it's not real. It's like, no, I know what I'm feeling, I know what I'm seeing, I'm in pain, and they're saying, no, you shouldn't feel like this because it's the impact that people are judging on. And I know I put this out on Facebook, and I happened to be traveling at the time. So, you know, when you're traveling, you can't monitor your post exact. So I posted these prices in Baguio, and did the conversation escalate quicker than the gas prices?
For sure, yeah.
It blew up because the argument about train law, of course, that people were saying it's got nothing to do with train law, but people were saying, but they're adding on to an already rising a necessity. So people are very sensitive. They don't call it the F word for nothing. Fuel. I'm talking fuel. Yes.
But you know, a lot of people, well, moving on, guys, you know, the historic and, of course, the first face-to-face meeting between North Korea and Donald Trump, well, you know, it's not going to happen. Well, so far, as of today, it's not going to happen as planned in Singapore on June 12th.
So U.S. President Donald Trump cancels the summit with Kim Jong-un.
Sent a letter over.
Not just a tweet?
No, actually sent a letter.
Very formal.
And what's surprising is that the North Korea actually took steps to start their denuclearization program, and we're gonna find out how this will. Yes, it blew up three of their sites, and we'll find out.
CNN had a crew there, so I'm not sure. I think we might show it later.
One of our local.
No, not us. CNN International.
In the world of sports, well, later on Sports Desk, I'll be having Christian Sanhardinger and Paul Zamar, the two former ABL players. What's that?
The pronunciation, you got it right.
Yeah, I did. I should know these people. They will be on the show later on to talk about how the ABL helped them now during the PBA, and also Christian Sanhardinger will share with us. He has a YouTube channel. Like everybody does YouTube now, and like he vlogs. So yeah, stick around for that. That's at 11 a.m. later. And if they have any questions, send them in. Just use the hashtag SportsDesk.
Okay. And to all of the mga titos and titas of Manila, Guns N' Roses coming to Manila. Tickets are now on sale. Come on, what tito and tita did not grow up with Guns N' Roses?
We're gonna hear you sing
Sweet Child. Yeah, this is as close to Bon Jovi as possible.
So again, stick around until 7:30 for these stories and more. Meantime, here are the morning's headlines.
The Justice Department is set to review whether to extend or end the provisional witness protection of Janet Lim Napoles as it expires tomorrow. One ID for all, lawmakers are one step closer in passing the national ID system. And for the first time in almost a century, two boxing Filipino champs will compete for a world title. We speak to Jerwin Ancajas and Jonas Sultan in the program.